our mind, which is the software of the brain, will do anything it has to survive. The newer generation is so open in talking about mental health. I also feel that they exaggerate a little bit about mental health. They get stuck in the jargons.
Hello everyone, this is me, Jyotika Bedi, your host and founder of Happiness is Love. Today I have someone very, very close to my heart, someone very, very gifted, Astha Aluwalia, who's a very passionate psychologist, therapist and educator whose work goal is to bring mental health awareness to the forefront of human health and well-being. I absolutely love and admire the work she does. In 2018, she co-founded Reboot Wellness to make mental health services available and accessible to one and all. Astha's work purpose is building an army of equipped and trained mental health professionals, and Astha's work is all heart. It's all about love, love, love. And when she's not working, she finds a lot of pleasure in traveling to exotic destinations and being amidst nature. She has many stories to share. I welcome you, Astha. Thank you so much for doing this with me. It really means a lot.
It is my pleasure. I think this is a conversation which was long pending because we talk like offline so much about so many things and about mental health and the future of it in our country.
Absolutely.
I think it's a conversation that I've been waiting for. So happy to be here, Jyotika. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Astha. And my first question to you is, what is mental health and why is it important?
Okay. I think when people think of mental health, and because of how, and this is the majority of people, I'm not talking about the restricted, limited few who understand it to its depth. I always say this especially when I'm teaching, that we're all mental, which means we all have a mind, and that mind has certain processes, right? And those are mental processes, which makes all of us mental, which means off the mind. And because we're off the mind, there will be experiences that will affect the way we think, the way we feel, the way we do things, and that is mental health. Our mental health is the way we think, which is emotions. The way we feel, which is emotions. The way we think, which is psychological. And the behaviors and actions that we do in order to ensure that we are not only living a functional life, but also a happy, healthy life. Right? So for me, mental health is such a broad term. I know that few words that come to mind when people say mental health, and even when you Google it, very strangely, when people Google it, the words that come up are depression, anxiety, bipolar, really heavy words. Yes, though they exist too, and we cannot deny that, and we need to be aware of it. But mental health essentially means being one with the way you think, the way you feel, and the actions that you do, which is why it's everybody's responsibility to take care of it.
I agree with you 100%. And the beautiful health continuum that you shared with me one time, do you have access to that? Because the way you
I do. It is, I believe in it. I believe in it so much, and I share it very often because I think that people need to understand the continuum, the diversity of the concept that exists. Because you and I have spoken about it, on one end of the mental health spectrum is healthy, which is, normal, the word normal that we use. I'm not a big fan of the word, but the healthy functioning mind, which means that regular mood fluctuations that we all have, but being able to take things in their stride, being consistent with yourself, having good sleep patterns, taking care of your physical body, experiencing anxiety, experiencing sadness, all the positive and negative and neutral, all forms of emotions, but being able to regulate it.
Manage
it, right? And most importantly, being able to build happy, healthy relationships, because our mental health it also extends to the communities that we are a part of, the families that we are a part of, so our social environment as well. That's a healthy one, which is the green end of the spectrum. If I take you to the opposite end of the spectrum, which is essentially what people refer to as mental health, is the ill, right? Now, ill means one has a clinical disorder, one has a severe, persistent, dysfunctional experience impairment in our, in our thoughts, in the way we feel and regulate our feelings, in our actions and our behaviors, which means that there is a significant difficulty with managing one's emotions. There is high level of anxiety. Thought processes are, often distorted or disrupted.
Right.
Not being able to form healthy, long-lasting relationships, having significant dullness or difficulty in managing day-to-day regular things,
Yeah.
high level of dysfunctionality, high level of dysregulation, lot of impairment.
Right.
Now, these are the two opposite ends, right?
Correct.
Unfortunately, that's how we see it, right? We see it in black and white, but there are a few shades in between as well. And those are the shades where, so, and if you imagine it's on a bell curve,
Yeah.
so it's in the middle where most of us lie. So along with, right after the normal way of functioning, there's also a reactive way of functioning.
Right.
Which so many of us, we very often get into that space of reacting, which is, again, it is a very common, it's like common distress,
Right.
which is absolutely reversible. It is irritability, impairment for a short period of time. It is often situational. When we experience difficult situations in our life, we definitely get impacted by it. We can see this in terms of procrastination, not being very thoughtful, not having trouble sleeping, not taking care of yourself, having difficulty in relaxing your mind. Again, you and I and everybody else who consider themselves normal, we all go through this.
Correct.
So this doesn't make us abnormal, but it definitely makes us reactive. We are reacting to the experiences that life is offering to us, which is also understandable. There's nothing wrong in it.
Yeah.
But if this reaction does not see good light, meaning if the right actions are not taken, if the right support system is not provided, if the right if the experiences are not dealt with in an healthy, appropriate manner, right? Having these experiences is understandable, but if they're not regulated and dealt with properly, it takes us to the other end, which is what we call as injured.
Damaged or injured.
Yeah, damaged, like word sounds. Injured means you've hurt yourself. So the wound has gotten deeper, right? Or there is a very significant life event that has happened that has impacted your functionality. It has led to certain kinds of impairments. It has significant implication. How we see an injured mental health is when there is a lot of expression and experience of negative emotions like anger, anxiety, lingering sadness, tearfulness, feeling hopeless, feeling helpless, not feeling supported, a lot of preoccupation with negative thoughts, functioning out of our negative belief systems, feeling stuck in somewhere in the past, or excessively worrying about the future to a point where we're not able to regulate ourselves. That is how we see injured, and that is when we are hurt. That's the mental health continuum. There are so many other thoughts that are coming to me, but I'll let you ask me more questions.
So thank you for sharing that. It's really helped me. It's very, very useful. And, I keep kind of checking in with myself also. Okay, today I'm in the little bit of reactive zone. It's fine. And sometimes I need help too. And that's why it's so important to seek help and reach out and have supportive relationships. Because we are in the helping space. I was just talking to you about it. Sometimes we have the helper's block as well. But for all those who are listening to us, please be aware it's absolutely okay to reach out, to seek help. Help is available. Make sure that you have that one person that you can talk to, someone who can check in with you in terms of your mental health, your emotional well-being. And you know that we've gone through the mother of all tragedies, Astha, where a father turned towards extreme and unimaginable measures of taking his own life and his child's life and his wife's life. And I do believe that there was some kind of pathology there. There was some kind of illness there which went undiagnosed. And that's why I was inspired to make this podcast with you, where I want you to help us understand that how can I spot the signs of ill health, ill mental health in myself and in a loved one.
Because of the very conditioned stigma that comes with the word mental health, and that fear that is attached to not be normal,
right?
We've all gotten very good at masking are disruptions,
Yeah.
right? And maintaining that facade is, while it's easy because you have to do it for a short period of time, where who we can't lie to is our own selves. So I'll begin with self, you know. I think for our own individual selves, when we start to observe that we're not able to do the things that we're supposed to do,
Right.
right? Like, I'm supposed to, okay, it's okay to realize and recognize when I need to take a break, but I'm supposed to be functional, which essentially means having good sleep. It starts with the body,
Yeah.
right? Being able to exercise, move around, being able to feel healthy in myself, feel strong, feel energetic, feel, healthy in my body. So that's one. Right. When I'm able to manage my fatigue or my tiredness by sleeping or getting rest or getting the right kind of stuff. So it starts with recognizing the physical manifestations of the mind, because the mind and body are the same, right? They complement and support each other.
Right.
And so that's the functionality, the physical functionality part of it. Then comes the psychological and emotional functionality. When I don't experience certain emotions for a very long period of time, in our DSMs and diagnosis, it says that you have to experience sadness consistently for 4 to 6 weeks at least in order to be diagnosed as depression. But it's not that simple. I often say this, that before we diagnose anybody, and these days there's just such a hurry to diagnose everything. I think it's important to know that we will have certain kind of reactions to certain kind of situations. Like the situation that you have gone through, I will understand when you tell me that your family is struggling with their emotions. It's absolutely understandable. The situation demands for you to have conflicting emotions, but the journey that all of you take to regulate that, and there is no timeline to it.
Correct.
So but to recognize that this is how I'm feeling and this is what I would want to do about it or not want to do about it is a part of, having a healthy mind as well. Checking in on our social relationships. Am I, like you said earlier, do I have people to reach out to? Am I comfortable reaching out to them? Do I feel safe in my home environment, in my work environment, in my school environment, college environment, with my friends, with my loved ones? All of those are also indicators of experiencing positive, healthy mental health or not.
Correct.
Right? Now, what we see in others, right? How we can observe things in others is, again, the same thing. It starts with physical, right? Say our family members, are they sleeping well? Are they eating fine? Are they overeating or undereating? Right? Are they able to come and share their thoughts with me? Are they able to come and share their feelings with me? Are they able to, sometimes we say that, that this person is so happy, everything is fine, but can you see that your family member is being able to regulate the negative emotions also? Are they just pushing it under the carpet? So how functional are they at work? Are they able to concentrate, or are they getting into procrastination? How are they handling distress situations? How are they handling the variety of emotions that they're experiencing? The social relationships, are they avoiding it? Are they overindulging? Is there substance abuse? Now, substance is not just alcohol and drugs. Substance is also food, which is the most abused substance in the world. We abuse food the most, right? Either by over or under eating. Right. These days, one very interesting addiction that has come up is with the preoccupation with our bodies. Exercising excessively, pushing yourself too hard, developing injuries, and then getting stuck in that whole cycle. So these are some indicators. It does not mean that the person has some illness or is even injured. They can just be reacting, for all we know. They needn't be in a very red area, but these are things that we should check in about our own selves and about people around us.
Lovely. And how quickly one can move from a reactive state to an injured state if it's undiagnosed or unrecognized, the signs and signals?
That's a very interesting question, because the answer is I don't know. It's so personal and individual, because our brain is meant for survival, Jyotika, and it will do anything it has to. Our mind, which is a software of the brain, will do anything it has to survive. So the defenses that we are able to, build, the coping that we're able to do will, it gives us a large window period. And that window period can seem, will feel distressful, but we normalize and adapt to it very quickly.
True that.
There are so many theories in psychology which talk about the brain and the mind's capacity to sustain itself in long periods of distress and then all of a sudden just drop.
Crash. Yeah, exactly.
So the time period I can't tell you. It depends from individual to individual. What is your coping skill? What kind of support do you have? What experiences do you have? Is there any underlying psychological concern? Because a lot of personality concerns go very undiagnosed and not understood, basically.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. And that's why this conversation is so important, because what happened to our family, again, I do believe that there was some kind of illness there, and he was not able to share very openly about the shame that he may be experiencing as far as his financial loss is concerned.
I would like to add that maybe he wasn't even able to accept it.
Yeah.
And the being in denial is considered as a defense mechanism, but it's one of the most unhealthiest defense mechanisms that exist, because it takes us away from the reality that is there. And when we are away from the reality, we get delusional.
Absolutely.
And our delusions can make us think in ways and do things in ways that our rational mind otherwise wouldn't. And that line is so blurred, and it's such a slippery road that how quickly we get into this. I can just imagine his the amount of distress that he must be going through, the heaviness he must hold.
The pain, suffering, absolutely. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, if you have some kind of borderline, let's say personality disorder or illness, these people have very little insight into their own problems.
Personality disorders are very centered to who we are. So it's very difficult to separate it from who we are and and what we show to the world. And sometimes these lines are they are so faded, they're so blurred that even we ourselves don't know when what starts, and when does the outside facade starts and when the inner person is going on, which is why we all require consistent, continuous work. We all need to give ourselves that consistent, continuous work.
I agree with you. And my next question to you is regarding how families and loved ones can actually cope with mental health issues within their homes and communities. What can we do?
Just be okay with it. I know that these days people are using really very interesting language and vocabulary around mental health, which is adorable. But I also feel that we don't need to use clinical words.
Exactly.
We just need to be, fear is such a strong feeling that it is essentially the cause for so many of these mental health concerns. It's just fear.
Yeah.
And fear needs what? Fear needs a sense of safety, which means acceptance, validation, compassion, kindness. And that's the role of family.
Right.
That's the role of family. And if the families are able to provide all of that, provide that, okay, even if you are wrong, we will help you out, but we will not reject you. Right? Because it is out of the fear of rejection, the fear of abandonment, the fear of not being accepted for who I am, do I stop accepting my own self?
Yeah. Fear of being judged. And I know a lot of parents are not able to connect with their children because the children are fearing being rejected by the parent, and the children are not sharing their feelings of fear or shame or guilt. And that's why it's very important.
It is absolutely important.
Validate the entire rainbow of emotions. That's what makes us human.
Yeah. So I think having conversations about how we are doing, it's a very simple question. Checking in on each other, just checking in, allowing our family members to feel the way they feel. I'm not talking about actions and behaviors. I understand that behaviors and actions can be unhealthy. Right? And especially with the environment that we're a part of, unhealthy behaviors are very common these days. Right? And I'm not talking about the behavior. I'm talking about
feeling,
the acceptance.
Yeah.
I always say this, and I say this to my clients a lot. Acceptance does not always translate to allowance.
Yeah.
And families can really benefit from this. If I'm accepting you,
Yeah.
that does not mean that you're allowed to do whatever you want to,
Absolutely.
right? I'm accepting you because of the relationship you and I share.
Yes.
And I value that. I value as a human being, but I can still be disapproving of the behaviors, the unhealthy behaviors and patterns that you're a part of. Also, I think families are responsible to break patterns, the intergenerational patterns that exist. It is a family, it's a collective effort. It often doesn't happen in isolation.
Yeah.
And talking about difficult things, having difficult conversations, just being able to provide support to one another and be open to accepting that if I'm not able to provide the right support to my family, there is a professional out there who possibly can.
Exactly.
And it's okay to ask for help.
Yes, absolutely. In our homes, in fact, this is what we encourage. It's all your feelings are valid, all feelings are acceptable, but not all behaviors are okay. And that's what we need to be cognizant of, because we tend to act on our feelings, we tend to react to our feelings, and then as families, we're like you said, we accept
Yeah.
some behaviors. It's very important to be cycle breakers, and that's really our responsibility to say, hey, I respect your feelings, I'm with you, I accept your feelings. However, some behaviors and actions are hurtful to me, and I'm not okay with it. So this awareness we need to spread, where behaviors and actions have to be separate from feelings. And like you beautifully said, allow people to feel their feelings. We tend to be dismissive. We tend to invalidate, quick fix, provide unsolicited advice to people who may be feeling whatever they're feeling. This needs to change. Validate and then problem solve. But we skip the validation part.
We do.
So again, what advice you want to give to someone who may be struggling with any mental health issue but doesn't know where to turn for help? Where can people turn for help? And that's why our work is so important, Astha. We need
I
more
know.
of our kind. So please tell me, how can people turn?
Which is why I keep saying, which is why one of my biggest goals is to ensure that I'm able to train and work along with and grow along with a community of mental health professionals. But I feel that there are many steps before reaching a mental health professional as well, which is steps within our own communities, our own families, our own friends. What you said earlier, in our discussion, has so much of value, to have people around you. I was asked at another interview that what are some of the reasons why, because of which there's all of a sudden such a rise in anxiety and depression. And one of the most prominent causes is that people don't have people. Like every day when I sit in my, in my office and I'm talking to people and I'm meeting my clients, that's a common theme that I see. People have, people have friends and family and everything, but the connection,
that's missing.
right? That's missing because there's so much distraction, right? So I think the first step is to have your, at least establish some community for yourself who you can go and be yourself with.
Yeah.
That's the first space of help that you can take. Then, of course, there are a lot of practitioners that are present. My organization is always there. Your organization is always there. We're all working, very, very openly with people. As a profession, this field is growing a lot. It's seeing a lot of changes, which is fabulous. There are a lot of, I know that one of the biggest causes is also how expensive therapy is and how long-term therapy is. But there are so many other options that are coming up where therapy can be in group format, right? Where you can be a part of a community who experiences similar things that you do. We all have access to internet. It's just about typing it and finding yourself. There is also there's also a lot of conversation around getting help in spaces which don't require you to pay as much. And again, so much on social media, on most psychologists I know, most practitioners I know, are very open to providing scaling fees. I think it's just about finding the person. But here's another thing that I want to say, that a lot of people drop out of therapy because they don't connect with the therapist. We have to understand that the therapist is also a human being, and not all therapists might work with us or suit us. So try a couple. If the first experience is not how you want it to be, try a couple of more times before you give up on therapy, because it also takes finding the right fit, finding the right person who suits you, who understands you for who you are, culturally, emotionally, psychologically, socially. There's so many nuances to being a human. So if a person understands that, find that therapist for yourself.
You are that therapist for me because I am in the skill development space. I help people develop skills and I'm more into coaching. But you are that therapist. But anybody who wants to do deep work, I'm like, Astha is your go-to.
I am more than happy to do it. But so I think skills are such a neglected part of the therapeutic work in general. I'm not just talking about psychological therapy. Just generally, to grow in life, we have to build skills.
Oh.
Right? And coaching is so relevant there, which is why I said that there are so many steps and so many layers before we go to. There's so many people who come to me and I'm like, you know what, I think a skill building kind of an approach would suit you better.
Yeah.
Yes, it'll be more relevant.
Yeah.
Not so much deep work. Everybody doesn't want to do deep work, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely fine. You build. So there are 4 goals of therapy as I see it. Okay. One is catharsis.
Yes.
Expressing how you are feeling in an unfiltered manner, where the person who's receiving it is not judging you, has unconditional positive regard for you. So that's one part of therapy. The other part of therapy is to reflection. Reflect your observations back to the client, help them understand and reflect on themselves.
Right.
Third is to build perspective. I think that is the cognitive restructuring part of therapy, which allows us to re-evaluate our belief systems, touch back onto our traumas. The actual deep work is there, right? Where we build newer ways of thinking, feeling. We tackle and manage our experiences in ways that allow us to re-identify with them in a less threatening manner.
Right.
That's the perspective building part of it.
Right.
The fourth, but equally important part of it is skill building. We're human beings. We're not perfect. I don't think we'll ever be perfect, but it is our responsibility to build the skills to navigate life and the life situations that are thrown at us.
Absolutely.
So it is so deeply skill based also.
Yes, and that's why at Happiness is Love, this is what we do. We're in the business of skill development for personal growth, personal happiness, and future readiness. Because these are the tools that we didn't have while growing up. So we want to hand this to parents and professionals so that we can build a better world.
Fantastic. I think you guys are doing a fabulous job.
Thank you. And together we are better. Together we are strongest. That's why I love the work that you do. And this takes me to our last question. Is there anything you wish people to understand better from what you've already shared about mental health?
Don't be scared of the word mental health.
That is.
While we are, since COVID more specifically, and the newer generation is so open in talking about mental health, I also feel that they exaggerate a little bit about mental health. They get stuck in the jargons. Mental health is just accepting and acknowledging that we are human. The humanness of being human needs respect, needs acknowledgement, needs validation, needs love, compassion, needs skills, right? And that's something that we have to be honest with ourselves about. And that's the only thing that we need to understand about mental health. It will vary on that continuum that I spoke of earlier, and that's okay. There are solutions, and there is self-care, which is the starting point.
Yeah.
And then there is therapy, and there's medication, and there are like so many other options available.
Right.
There is a solution. You just have to tap into your own self and you'll get that solution. Sometimes the solution is within you, sometimes the solution is outside of you. It's in your communities, it's in your families, in your friends, or with a professional.
Right.
But we will be able to get there if we accept ourselves and the humanness that we bring.
Excellent. And it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to seek help.
Absolutely.
Help is available. All you need to do is just reach out.
Yes. All you need to do is just reach out within yourself or outside of yourself. You can choose.
Either is okay. Yeah, you choose. Yeah. Absolutely. And this is what Reboot and Happiness is Love really stands for. This is the love that we want to provide, the support that we want to provide to all those who are seeking help, because we believe that when we share, we learn, we grow, we heal, we build ourselves, each other, and our communities. So So continue to do the great work that you do, Astha. Absolutely.
And you.
And I love the fact that we share this deep connection, and I know that you're always there because you care. And I hope and pray that this podcast helps many who are just listening to us, who want to invest in their growth and development because they know that we are here.
Yeah, I hope so too. I think by having these conversations, we allow so much space for people to just think back and look at their own selves, people around, their families and friends. So thank you for bringing these thoughts out to the world. The world needs to hear more of it.
Yes, and that's why I always say together we are better.
Together we're better, together we're strongest.
Yes,
we are.
Love you. Thank
Lots of love to you.
You too. Keep shining your light. Thank you.
Thank you.